Okay, let's talk about a simple, no-cost change to a habit you probably already have that could have a huge impact on your health. No, we're not talking about some miracle pill. We're talking about that cup of coffee sitting in your kitchen. And the key, the one detail that changes everything, is timing. So, could your daily cup of joe really be the key? Well, for millions of people, especially as we get older, managing blood sugar can feel like a constant battle. But you know what? There's some really compelling science that says we have a powerful ally hiding in plain sight. The trick, though, is knowing how to use it the right way. Let's just start with the most powerful piece of evidence we have: 30%. That number represents a massive, massive discovery. We're talking about scientific reviews that looked at data from almost 1.2 million people. And what they found was that regular coffee drinking is linked to as much as a 30% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Now, that's not a small change. That is a huge protective benefit. So to really get why this matters so much, we have to understand the sheer scale of the problem we're up against. There's a bit of a silent crisis going on, especially among our seniors. And this chart really shows you the challenge we're facing. Look at this. In the general population, about 9% of people have diabetes, but that number just skyrockets to a staggering 30% for seniors over 65. Think about that. That's nearly 1 out of every 3 people. So you can see why understanding every single tool we have is just absolutely critical. All right, so how on earth can a simple drink have such a huge impact? Well, the answer is all in the biochemistry, how coffee's unique compounds interact with our own body's systems. Okay, so the root of the problem a lot of the time is something called insulin resistance. Let's imagine your pancreas is like a little factory. Its job is to produce insulin, which is basically the key that unlocks your cells so they can take in glucose for energy. But if that factory gets overloaded from too many sugar spikes day after day, your cells start to get, well, less responsive. The pancreas has to work harder and harder to get the same job done, until eventually it just can't keep up. And that right there, that's the gateway to type 2 diabetes. But this is where coffee steps in. You see, it's packed with hundreds of different compounds, but science has really zeroed in on 2 main ones as our primary defenders: chlorogenic acid and trigonelline. You can think of them as the heroes of this story. So how do they actually work? Well, a great way to think of them is like traffic controllers inside your gut. When you drink your coffee, these compounds literally slow down how quickly sugar is absorbed from the food you eat. So instead of this sudden traffic jam of glucose hitting your bloodstream all at once, you get a nice, smooth, manageable flow. And that's something your pancreas can handle without getting all stressed out. But here's the catch, and trust me, it's a big one. All these amazing benefits, they totally depend on how you drink your coffee. There are 3 classic mistakes that so many of us make, and they can actually work against you. You know, let me tell you about a man named Mr. Arnaldo. He was 72, really proud of his daily coffee habit, but his blood sugar was still dangerously high. And the thing is, he thought he was doing everything right, but he was unknowingly making the exact mistakes that were canceling out all the good stuff. So what were they? Here are the big 3. Number 1, drinking coffee on an empty stomach right after waking up. Number 2, adding sugar or even artificial sweeteners. And number 3, drinking it late in the afternoon or at night. Let's break down exactly why each one of these is such a problem. Okay, that first mistake is probably the most common one out there. When you wake up, your body's natural stress hormone, cortisol, is already high. That's normal, and it tells your liver to release some glucose to give you energy for the day. But here's the thing, caffeine actually amplifies that effect. It makes your
The
liver
liver's
dump
globules
even more
perform
glucose into
gluconeogenesis,
your
creating
system.
glucose from
So what's
precursors.
the result?
This
You
newly
haven't
formed
even
glucose
eaten a
is
bite
received
of
at the arterial
food and your
stream via
blood
the
sugar has
hepatic vein.
already spiked.
This process
Now
ensures a
what about
constant energy
mistake
supply
number
for the
2?
body.
The additives. A really important study from Harvard made this crystal clear. Plain, black coffee associated with a lower risk of diabetes. But the moment sugar was added, that protective effect just plummeted. You're basically pouring gasoline on the fire you're trying to put out. And it's not just sugar. Even artificial sweeteners can mess with the good bacteria in your gut that are super important for managing glucose. Okay, so enough about what not to do. Let's flip this around and focus on the solution. There are what I like to call 3 golden moments to drink your coffee. Times when you can maximize its benefits and really turn it into a powerful tool for your health. Here's the right way to do it. Golden moment number 1. Have your coffee with or after a protein-rich breakfast, never before. Number 2. Have a cup about 20 to 30 minutes before lunch. This lets it act as that traffic controller we talked about. And number 3. Drink a cup within 30 minutes after you exercise. This actually helps your muscles just sponge up any excess glucose floating around in your blood. And you know what? We can make that first golden moment even better. Here's a little tip. Always eat a protein source first, something like eggs or cheese or yogurt. That protein helps buffer the caffeine's impact on your cortisol. And for an extra boost, add about half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder. It's a great trick. Cinnamon has compounds that can actually help your cells absorb glucose more effectively. It's such a small change, but it has a real metabolic benefit. Alright, so just to be perfectly clear, let's list out coffee's invisible enemies. First, sugar, any kind. Second, artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose. Third, those industrialized instant coffees, they often have a bunch of hidden additives. And finally, pairing your coffee with ultra-processed foods like white bread or cookies, that's just going to cause a glucose spike that no amount of coffee can fix. Now, getting your coffee timing right is incredibly powerful, but it really works best when it's part of a bigger picture. It's just one piece of what I'd call the protection triad. So what is the triad? It's these 3 pillars that work together beautifully. You've got smart coffee, using the timing we just went over. Then you've got daily movement, and this doesn't have to be some intense workout. And finally, adequate protein with your meals. The magic happens when these 3 things combine because their effects don't just add up, they multiply. And here's why it's just so effective. They work in perfect synergy. The coffee improves your cells' sensitivity to insulin, making them more receptive. The exercise acts like a sponge, actively pulling glucose out of your blood to fuel your muscles, and the protein slows down digestion, which prevents those sharp glucose spikes after you eat. It's a really powerful, holistic strategy. Okay, and I really have to stress this next part because it's incredibly important. Everything we've talked about today is a complementary lifestyle strategy. It's based on solid science, but it is not a replacement for medical care. So if you're on medication for diabetes, please never change or stop taking it on your own. Talk to your doctor. Share this information with them and work together to make any adjustments safely. So I want to leave you with this one last thought. Your body is not your enemy. When symptoms like high glucose or feeling tired all the time pop up, they aren't just annoyances. They're signals. Your body is trying to tell you something. It's asking for help. And a lot of the time, what it's asking for isn't a new pill. It's a small, consistent change to a daily habit. Real, lasting health isn't just found in a pharmacy. It's built in the 1,000 small choices you make every single day.